Wednesday, July 21st. The moon is in Sagittarius, but will be transiting into Capricorn energy. There is 11 moon aspects taking place today out of 12 cosmic aspects taking place in the cosmos, meaning it's going to be a busy day. We are actually entering into the full moon window at this time. So energy is building. Things are getting intense. We are starting to feel that intensity build within us and in our external realms. We are still refining some details, some thoughts, some ideas, some energies as we move to this next stage of integrating all it is that we've learned, especially since the new moon in Cancer and since we gave birth to a brand new cycle last week. So the moon in Sagittarius bumps into Jupiter first thing in the morning. And this is actually a good conversation because the moon in Sagittarius kind of unleashes all the learning that took place the day before. Now, Jupiter, who had spoken to Mercury about all the learning lessons, about the growth that has taken place just the night before, is now kind of reassuring the moon in Sagittarius that it rules over, that you know what, we're not trying to bust the bubble. We're not trying to take the winds out of your sail. We want to set you up for success. We are tired of watching you pour all of your energy, overwhelming, biting off more you can chew, taking on too big dreams, too big of a vision, and then being disappointed when it doesn't happen. So there's like this heart to heart that is taking place here because, Jupiter understands that the moon in Sagittarius is all fired up and just wants to, take on a new chapter and take on a new adventure and put themselves out there and just go after what it is that they want. However, the learning lesson that we just learned yesterday in managing our energy and, being a little bit more realistic with what it is that we are diving into, Jupiter is kind of content at this point that, we calmed down a little bit. We had a little bit of a reality check. We realized where the growth is absolutely taking place. And all of this is because we learned to take a step back, listen to our intuition, realign with our meaning and our purpose where the new dreams and new visions are concerned. And we're toning things down into a little bit more of a controlled way. So the moon goes ahead and bumps into both Uranus and the sun. Now, these are minor aspects. So these aren't like, if we're talking about the soap opera again, like this isn't like a major topic and theme or storyline. This is just like little clips, little blips, little conversations that need to happen in order to build to the bigger storylines. So the moon in Sagittarius first bumps into Uranus and has a conversation like, I learned a lot yesterday and you were right. And I'm so grateful that you came at me the way that you did. And I am so grateful that you shook me up in that way to make me see that I need to look at the bigger picture here. And I need to look at where I can open my mind up to doing new things and adopting new ways of managing my energy and managing my excitement so that I don't overwhelm myself and everyone else around me. And then at the end of the day, not get anything done. So I'm grateful for that lesson. Thank you for awakening me to what it is that I was doing that wasn't serving me so that I can adopt new, better ways of doing things. And then, of course, the moon bumps into the sun and the sun is like, oh, I am so proud of you for recognizing where it is that you needed to take care of yourself and manage your time and your energy a little bit more. I'm so proud of you for stepping up to the plate and acknowledging to these other heavy hitting planets here that, it was hard in order to have that reality check, but that it was very much needed. And I'm so proud of you for recognizing right now where it is that you need to implement new boundaries in order to make sure that you don't go off the rails, that you don't bite off more than you can chew, that you don't go balls to the walls and end up causing more problems for yourself in the long run. I am super, super proud of you. So the moon is kind of feeling itself at this point because we just had a really good start to the day. But of course, we run into Neptune. And this is not a very good situation, a very good conversation, because Neptune is retrograde in Pisces, illuminating for us where it is that we want to escape reality. Now, this conversation is kind of threefold. The moon in Sagittarius having this reality check is bumping into Neptune, and Neptune is kind of trying to hype us up like, hey, You remember that great dream you had? You remember that great vision that you had? Let's get back to that. Let's get fired up. Let's go after it. And the moon in Sagittarius is kind of hesitating to let Neptune pump him up a bit, because we just learned the hard way that we bit off more than we can chew, that the dream was too big, that we were too confident, we were too overwhelmed, that we should tone things down just a bit. And Neptune isn't happy about this realization, because Neptune, of course, wants to live in imaginary land where all dreams are possible, where there is no boundaries, where there is no rules, where there is no process, where we just go with the flow, where we align to our intuition and just follow it regardless of what anybody else is saying. And so this tension point, this crisis point between the moon in Sag and Neptune retrograde in Pisces is a little bit of a disconnect. It's a little bit of not a nice conversation for us to have, because we want nothing more than to go after our big dreams, our big visions. But guess what? We just learned the hard way that we're going to be disappointed, that we have to come back down to reality just a tad if there's any chance that we actually are able to bring our visions and our dreams into our reality. So we move on from that situation. The moon in Sagittarius now blends its energy with Mars in Leo. So this is good, because the moon in Sag is now a little bit more stable in the emotions, in the energy exchange. We've turned down the volume. We're a little bit more aligned with the direction that we want to take. And so we bump into Mars, and of course, Mars is just ready to take any kind of direction, to take any kind of action. And the moon in Sag is like, okay, so I refined my dream just a little bit, which means that I have to alter the direction that we're taking just a tad. And Mars is like, okay, just tell me what direction to take and I will get going, because I really want us to end up in the end goal of what it is that we want for ourselves. I want to honor you. I want to honor our heart space. I want to honor our soul's mission here. Just tell me when I can take action and what direction I should take action in. So he's all happy right now because he's getting permission to actually move forward. And the moon in Sag goes ahead and bumps into Pluto. So again, Pluto, this is a good aspect. I'm not going to say that it's a bad aspect, because it's not. It's also not an intense aspect, but it does apply a little bit of stress, a little bit of pressure. And I'm going to tell you, it happens from an outside trigger. So basically, the moon in Sagittarius bumps into Pluto, again, all about putting a certain death to ways of doing things, to habits, to ideas, to emotions. The big thing here is, though, this is an outside element of a power struggle. This is someone testing us. This is an old habit that needed to die probably 2 years ago, that we're hesitant on letting go of, that we're really struggling to disconnect from, that is going to trigger us in a way that we're going to actually have to rise to the plate, the new boundaries that we've set. We're either going to have to make a choice. Are we going to stay in the same cycle, or are we going to move forward? Now, the moon in Sagittarius, again, has the volume reasonably attuned right now, so that we're not just listening to screeching and banging and screaming. We can actually hear the music. We can actually pick out the words. And right now, Pluto, of course, wants us to see where it is that we're being tested from outside elements, likely in a power struggle, likely where it is that we've given our power away, and likely where it is that we are being tested on whether or not we're going to take it back. And because we are in the final day, the last day of Cancer season, I'm going to go even further and say that this is a home issue. This is a domestic issue. This is a family matter. And emotions are running high because this is the last day of Cancer season. The moon in Sagittarius is a little bit extra, as we have been figuring out. And we are coming to an end of Sagittarian energy before switching into Capricorn energy. So the lesson, the intensity is all the way on. And in this moment, we're kind of overwhelmed. We don't know what to do. we want to go balls to the walls and make a change and cut the head off the snake and really put a death to whatever power exchange is triggering us in our relationships, in our home life, really, really triggering us to stand up for ourselves, to advocate for ourselves. But at the same time, we've just learned a lesson in being a little bit too extra, in being a little bit too much. So we're having a hard time regulating our emotional reaction to whatever is going on in our exterior realm that is triggering us. So we kind of, at this point, we kind of don't know what to do. We kind of pull back. We move inwards. We're trying to act as the observer because that's what we are learning that we should do. That is the best way to do things. And so in this moment, the moon in Sagittarius goes ahead and bumps into Saturn. And Saturn, the Lord of Karma, is saying, okay, listen, I know you're being challenged right now. I know your head is up against a wall. I know that you are kind of split on what it is that you should be doing, on how it is that you should either be acting or reacting to this power struggle. And Saturn is saying, okay, so what are we going to do about this? First of all, we have to understand that there is a role for you to play in this particular energy exchange, right? This comes down to soul contracts. And I definitely want to do a whole episode just talking about soul contracts so that we can all understand the mission that we have here in our physical realms, the mission that our soul is here to do and here to complete, and also the role that we play in other people's lives and the soul contract that we have in our personal relationships. So Saturn wants to remind us of this right now, that we have a role to play. Because Saturn is also karma, we want to recognize right now, if we react the same way that we've been doing in the past, we are continuing this karmic cycle. We are being asked, do we want to stay and repeat, or do we want to move forward and evolve? And if we choose the latter, we have to do differently. We cannot react in the same way as we did before. We have to be mature. We have to boss up. We have to level up. Again, that military grandfather telling us all the reasons of why we can't, why we shouldn't, why we won't. Well, we've known from previous days that we are going to, we definitely are going to make a change. And so at this particular point, there's a tension because we don't know how to act. We're being given, each and every single one of us, we are being given an opportunity to choose differently. And again, this is an outside trigger, likely someone close to you that is pushing your buttons and testing your boundaries. And now you are given a choice. Are you going to stand up for yourself and advocate for yourself and attach to your higher self, acting as the observer, seeing where it is that changing your reaction, changing the way that you've always reacted in the past and interacted with this person, if you are going to change, you will get a different energy outcome. You're being asked what it is you want to do. And in that moment, the moon in Sagittarius bumps into the sun. The sun is there like our cheerleader, providing us with a little bit of an angry pep talk saying, okay, listen, you deserve better than this. You deserve to put yourself first. You have to honor yourself. You have to put your boundaries into place. You have to advocate for yourself. You have to build a stronger foundation. You have to teach this person what it is you will and will not tolerate. And although this is, you're almost being yelled at, like this is a pep talk that you're being yelled at. Y'all ever seen those coaches that like tough love their team right to death? They will say, yeah, they're strict. They don't let us get away with any shit. But the players always say that the tough love element that they get from their coaches, literally screaming at them words of empowerment, is what motivates them to do better, what motivates them to be their best selves. And this is very much a similar situation that we're going through right now, even though the sun in Cancer is very mothering. Its time is up in Cancer as of today. It wants to nurture us, but guess what? The sensitive, emotional, intuitive way has been working in little baby steps, but the sun right now is like, you know what? I don't have much time left. I am going to scream love. I'm going to scream empowerment, scream motivation at my child in order to drive home that they need to honor themselves. They need to do what is best for themselves. So it is through this kind of yelling pep talk that we receive the empowerment that we need in order to make that choice that we were offered earlier when we had an outside influence trigger us, what it is we're actually going to do with it. And in this moment, we bump into Uranus, which is helping us see the higher octave of the soul contract, of the life lesson, of our choices, of how changing our energy, our vibration, setting the new tone for how it is that we are going to be treated, how that is going to create a brand new karmic cycle. And guess what? In that moment, in this beautiful moment, the moon in Sagittarius trines Venus. Venus is hours away from moving out of Leo and moving into Virgo. This is the last aspect that the moon will make with Venus before that shift happens. And let's go back to Venus sitting on the curb. She's sobering up. Let's just say she made it off the curb. A cab came, picked her up. She hit up Pizza Corner. She's home. She cried herself asleep. She is just waking up and realizing, you know what? Damn, I had a little bit too much fun. I definitely am suffering the consequences for it. I definitely have to get back to reality. I got some messes to clean up. My goodness, she's looking at herself in the mirror, her makeup all smeared. She's looking like a hot mess. She recognizes, you know what? I was on some shit. I was acting way hotter than I actually am. I was acting as if I valued myself way more than I do. I need to up my worth here. I need to level up. I need to do better, especially advocating for myself, especially where my personal relationships are concerned. I need to honor my heart space in this moment. And in that moment of realization, the moon switches into Capricorn. Here is where we make shit happen. The moon in Capricorn bumps into Jupiter and recognizes, guess what? We were given an opportunity earlier to act in a different way, to set new boundaries down on how it is that we are going to be treated and how it is that we are going to react to this external trigger that is really pushing us, pushing our limits, pushing our boundaries. And guess what? I am bossing up. I am ready to choose a brand new way of doing things. I am ready to choose to honor myself, to act as a position of authority in honoring my true worth and my true value. And I am choosing to take the higher road. I am choosing to express myself. I am choosing to set the tone on how this relationship is going to continue. I am taking my power back. And of course, Jupiter is there to help us grow, to help us to expand, to align to our higher self. And of course, this Capricorn energy being ruled over by Saturn, the Lord of Karma, we are recognizing where it is that we are disconnecting from old karmic cycles and where it is that we are willing and offering to move into new ones. And just as we have that realization, just as we make that choice, just as we make that decision to evolve instead of stay and repeat, Venus, the goddess of love, beauty, worth, value, she moves into Virgo. She looks at herself as the hot mess that she was looking in just moments before. And now she's moving into an earth energy. She's moving into Virgo, who reorganizes our worth, our value, the way we take care of ourselves, the way that we engage in our relationships, setting up new routines for us to follow, putting our health and wellness, especially where our mental health is concerned, back on the top of the list.